Welcome to Alaska Family Connection. My name is Hunter Mizar. I get the great privilege to be District Superintendent of the Alaska District. And today I'm in Kodiak, Alaska. I got to tell you, it's been one of those bucket list places that I've always wanted to go to, I've never been to. We have 6 places that the only way we get to them is by plane or by boat. And this is one of them. So today, I'm sitting with Pastor Tim Luther, who's been in Kodiak for 19 years. One of our best pastors who's just been faithful to the ministry. And so I'm excited to do this interview. Tim, tell us about where did this initial calling to ministry come from? Did you always want to be a pastor growing up, or is this something that came later in life?
It was actually later. I had just gotten out of the Marine Corps, and at that point, I had really kind of, for a period of time in my life, I didn't walk with the Lord. I kind of walked away from the Lord for a period. And after I got out of the Marine Corps, it was interesting because I felt just this void, naturally. And what happened is the Lord, I really knew, you know what, Tim, you need to get your life right with the Lord. And so in that time, I had actually recommitted my life to the Lord. In fact, it was actually at Jesus Northwest, of all places.
Yeah.
We were at a concert.
Yeah.
And gave my life.
You would have been in your early 20s, or how old?
I was 26, maybe. Okay, something like that.
Yeah.
So, and then I ended up, and I was starting. We got committed to going back to church. Becky and I, we were searching for churches to go to and stuff like that. And I think I'd shared that with you earlier. That we had gone to Calvary Chapel. We were going to the Nazarene Church, kind of going back and forth. And eventually, we ended up going to the Nazarene Church. But in that time, I really it was in 1994. I felt the Lord calling me to ministry. And what was really interesting is He used the word specifically, because I was like, Lord, is this just me thinking this, or is this something that that you really want me to do? And so, and it was funny because He used actually our senior pastor in his messages. He had 3 messages consecutively after each other, and I remember the very first sermon was when Joshua was called to cross the river, and the Jordan River, and it was funny because it was a step of faith, and I didn't think anything of it at the time when he was doing the sermon, and then the next sermon was about talents, that the Lord's and he talked specifically about talents. Everyone's got talents and all that. And once again, it didn't really make a connection. But the third sermon was really kind of the sermon that, because usually when you go hear a sermon, sometimes, I know even as a pastor, sometimes they'll ask you, hey, what was your sermon about last week? And you'll be going, because you move on to the next one.
Sure.
And so it was when Isaiah was called into ministry. Yeah. And he said, here I am. Yeah. With me, Lord. Wow. And at that point in time, I knew, and it's like all of a sudden those other sermons flashed back. It was like one step after another. Yep. And I felt, okay, Lord, so you want me to go into ministry. And so that was the year I began to pursue ministry. Like I said, I went to Puget Sound Christian College. I was raised Nazarene.
Yeah, which is so fascinating to me. You grew up Nazarene, but you have this calling in ministry, and then you go to a non-Nazarene institution. Tell us why that. This is fascinating.
I went to Puget Sound Christian College because I was raised Nazarene. My mom and dad went to Nazarene Church as a kid, and so I was very familiar with the Nazarene Church and its doctrines, and maybe not real, but I had an understanding of them.
Yeah.
And so when I started to do ministry, I thought, Lord, I want to go into ministry and And when I do this, I would really want to know why it is I believe in the things I believe in, you know?
What a novel thought.
And so I went to Puget Sound Christian College because it was Church of Christ. They were non-instrumental, so they didn't believe in instruments. So it's worship.
Yeah.
And they believed, you know, like I said, they had theology that was different than mine. They didn't believe in the second work of grace. They questioned that and perfection, and then of course for me the question was, is baptism part of the salvation story, you know, and that type of stuff. So those type of things came out through my time at Puget Sound Christian College, where it really gave me a firmer foundation, an understanding of what I believed and why I believed, and it really actually confirmed more about why I believe in the Nazarene Church doctrine. So free will being one of those too, which was really interesting. But so that was really the reason why I went that route. But I went there. It was a 4-year college. It was 5 years I was there, and it was a small school. It only had 180 students, all it was biblical degrees.
Yeah.
So that was intriguing to me too.
Sure.
I wanted to go to something that was just specifically for ministry, whatever ministries people, and some were missions, of course, and some were biblical interpretation, some were language, you know, there's different things, but specifically that's why it was intriguing to me as well. So,
what was the goal? I mean, did you have a sense of, I want to be a youth pastor, or I want to be a lead pastor, or what did you visualize it, or it was just I'm saying yes to God to serve in the ministry, whatever that looks like?
I'm saying yes to God. Didn't have a clue. In fact,
which I think is where most of us start.
Yeah.
It starts with a yes from God, and we would have never dreamed or imagined the places that yes would take you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, what was funny is these are words I said to the Lord. Lord, I will never do youth ministry.
How did that go for you?
That's all I've done since I've been to include the other job that I do on my vocational needs is working with youth as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and then like I said, we did foster care for 5 years with youth, and so the Lord was like, "Oh, never, huh? Okay, well, we'll see about that." And so, but also another thing I have to confess is, I also stated that I would never preach. You know, I don't want to preach. And the Lord, in fact, my very first sermon was January 1st, 2000.
Wow.
Coming off of Y2K.
Oof.
And my senior pastor got sick.
Uh-huh.
I was an associate at that time.
Yeah.
And he asked me if I would preach, and I said, no. He had called me. I said, no. And the Lord said, Tim, you're going to do this. You know, and I was like, Lord,
yeah.
And so I turned white. I mean, yes, Becky. I was terrified.
Yeah.
And then I called.
It's scary not only to stand before people and everyone's watching you, but at least for me, to feel the weight of, I'm going to represent the Lord here in His Word. Like people, this is, very important that I don't mess this up.
Yeah. And I knew that because I messed announcements lots of times.
There's a real weight to it, though, for sure.
Yeah, there was, and so, and it was funny because the reason why I say that, why I said announcements, is because the pastor had assigned me to be the announcer in the services, and what terrified me was, I remember one time we had this couple that was going to be getting married, and I announced that there was going to be a baby shower instead of a wedding shower, and everyone started laughing, and I was just terrified. Then you think about, okay, now I got to do the sermon,
right?
So, okay, that was my very first sermon. My first sermon was on hope, And it was because everyone was scared about what was supposed to happen on January 1st, 2000.
Yeah.
And the Lord gave me the words, and at that point I knew.
Yeah.
I knew that the Lord was prepping me now to start in a different direction.
Sure. Now, you weren't new to ministry when you came to Alaska.
No.
You had served in a lot of different roles. Mm-hmm. You had served in different churches. But I'm always interested, how did you end up in Alaska? Because you were kind of interviewing with a couple of churches, and it wasn't like this was your only option. How did you end up in Kodiak, Alaska?
Well, sometimes I think the Lord will give you the things of your heart's desire,
Yeah.
And ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to go to Alaska.
Really?
Yeah. It was always like a dream of mine.
Yeah.
And
was it hard to convince Becky, hey, let's go on this adventure to the
no, not really. I think because she'd already experienced things, ministry in the first place, going to my Drain, and when we went to our interviews like Laramie, Wyoming, and Columbia Falls, Montana.
Yeah.
Those are they're all scary in themselves,
Sure.
And then being in the military, transferring between duty stations, really prepared us for making those transitions.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't really the scary part. The scary part to me always is the transition from one to another. But saying goodbyes.
Yeah. Brutal.
And coming into it,
And are they going to like me where I'm going?
Yeah.
Will I fit in? Yeah.
And
you were raising kids. I mean,
you
had a family too that you had to think about.
Yeah. And that was a portion too that we'd asked the Lord to. When we moved to Alaska, it wasn't just ministry per se for the church itself, but we also wanted to be in a ministry where we also had opportunities where we wouldn't have conflict with raising our kids.
Yeah.
Alaska has been a great place for raising children, and we were able to spend and invest time in our kids. Because
how old were they when you moved here?
We got here 2007, so Hannah was 7 and Elizabeth was 6.
Okay. Wow.
And
now, were there other churches on the district that were open, or just Kodiak at that time?
Kodiak was the only one that was open here, I believe, at the time in Alaska. There might have been others, but this was the very first one that we came to. And I remember when we came to the interview,
which is helpful that you got to actually come here in person.
Yes.
Before you said yes.
Yeah.
I know some pastors, it was kind of sight unseen.
Yeah.
The interview went really good over the phone, but I mean that's helpful that you at least got to see Kodiak.
Well, I know Kodiak had other pastors. I think that they had interviewed, and so and they were going through, of course, their process, and then we were the next on that list, I guess, where we, and I don't know if it was the board or if it was the person said declined or whatever, but when it came to us, when we did come here, it was initially through online. We did a phone calls. I don't think we have
pre-Zoom days.
I don't know if we had Zoom days or not in those days,
yeah.
but so it was a phone call. We had a phone call interview. They wanted to see first if they were even interested, because they had their questions, and so we, of course, answered those things, and then Mike Couch, the DS at that time, then called us, I think it was a week later, and said, hey, they're interested, they'd like to pursue this, so would you be interested in going to visit them? And we said, sure. And so it was Becky and I without the girls, and we came here, and it was unanimous vote here, and they wanted us to come, and we felt the Lord calling us to come here, and 19 years later, here we are.
Amazing. Now, Kodiak, what would you say is unique about, let's talk about the community first. Everyone knows about the Kodiak Bear, but I mean, what makes Kodiak Kodiak? How would it be distinguished from, especially other, I guess, places in Alaska?
I would say when I came to Alaska, it's that independent spirit, you know. I think that's even intensified in Kodiak, because here it's kind of like the survival. I mean, you'll see people on the island that they've got to basically mend things themselves without having the supplies to do it. You know, and before Walmart, Safeway were here, you know, they even had less. And so you would have, I mean, you'll go from one area to another, and you'll see houses with a bunch of stuff. It's because they keep that stuff to in case something breaks down, they use it. Yeah, you know, so they're very innovative. That type of, I mean, that's what's unique, I think, about Kodiak is that people have learned to do that here, and so it's very. They'll do whatever it takes to get something accomplished. Yeah. So I'd say that's kind of unique.
But this is a major hub for the Coast Guard.
Yeah.
I think you're telling me is it the largest base?
Largest base, yeah, in the United States.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is kind of this transitory feel, I'm sure, to Kodiak too, where, I mean, a huge population is in the service, but they're only here for a couple of years, and they're off to, so that's a whole other challenge too, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's a transition, and typically what I've noted about the Coast Guard is usually it's really funny because typically who will come here are people who've been in Nazarene churches. If they're in the Coast Guard and they've been in a Nazarene church, typically they'll come and start to attend the church. As where those that have maybe multiple denominations they've been a part of, typically it's not the place that they'll end up usually coming to the Nazarene church. There's usually that association by, so lots of the people that I've had here attended Nazarene churches wherever they were previously, or were raised in it somewhere.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'm sure the struggle is you finally get some good workers or a good family, and then a couple of years later, they're off somewhere else.
Yeah, like the Rainings. The Rainings used to be here. They were here twice when we were here. We had another couple when we first came that was on the board when we got voted in. Yeah. And they were here for about a year. We became very good, close friends with them, and our daughters are close friends with their kids to this day, and we still are in contact with them. And they live on the East Coast, and they're getting ready to actually retire out of the Coast Guard. But yeah, very transitional Kodiak. That's kind of I know Alaska in general can be transitional, but you see a lot of it here. You get to say a lot of goodbyes. The Coast Guard's sad because you get to say goodbyes every 3 years. And sometimes even sooner if they pick up rank or they get reassigned to something else. But I had another guy that came here who was in the Coast Guard. He was here twice too. Did 2 tours here. Did one and came back to the church. And so that's what's nice about it too. If they do come back here, lots of times we'll see them again. But yeah, I mean it's the Coast Guard is they play a very important role in the town.
Sure.
And so
because the town is about.
Town together is about 12,000 now. About half the population is the Coast Guard.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So they places like Walmarts and Safeways, they only come to places where a population can sufficiently supply them, the clientele.
Yeah. But it's a milder climate place.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're going to get a ton of snow. You're not going to be below zero.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of rain for sure.
Yeah.
But it's. I'm here in January, and this feels much better than the North Pole and Fairbanks. I mean, yeah. I
mean, here in Kodiak, your weather is typically like what you're hearing right now, the rain pouring. Uh-huh. Winters are typically wet.
Yeah.
But they are typically drier. I mean, more sun in the winter months than you see in the summer months and spring.
Yeah.
Spring and summer usually they have more rain. Now, mind you, to kind of put it in perspective, Ketchikan, I think, is 200 inches of rain a year.
Yeah.
Annually, we get about 80. So not as much.
Okay.
Because ours is heavy right now, but it's not always. It's not heavy to get that misty rain, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's not real bad. Like I think tonight we're supposed to get 2 inches of rain, so this isn't typical, but
Right.
usually maybe a quarter.
And you're not going to get real hot in the summer. I mean, you're not going to get in the 70s.
65.
Yeah.
Like I said, one summer we had maybe the 80s. That was really very, that wasn't typical. And then the coldest winter we had here was actually negative 11 we got down to.
Okay.
And we actually got the frosties in our roads here. I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, but that was the only year I remember like that.
Yeah.
We haven't had winter like that before. When I first got here, too, there were more blizzards. But I haven't noticed the last maybe 10 years, there's been a lot less. And I don't know if it's just...
So what is unique about the church itself? What kind of makes Kodiak Nazarene, some unique things about it?
Well, one thing I've always enjoyed about when I first came here was the involvement that our people have in this church and the community. Whether it's through their profession, in some cases it's through their job, that they have opportunities to share faith with others. And they're not... One thing I've enjoyed about Kodiak is that they're not... They like to share their faith. I mean, it's just... It's not something you always see. And I've been in some churches where people have... I'm not saying that they can't share their faith, but it's just that they're a little more timid in it. But the people in this church really are always inviting. And they share, they invite, and they're not at all scared to do it. And so, and to me, it's kind of a testament of just their faith and wanting other people to know the goodness of the Lord in their lives. And so, and they're what I really enjoyed about them too is that, and they're not judgmental in any way. I really like that about the church. There's sometimes I've been in places where you feel kind of that, but here the people have really been inviting, and they really care for people in their spiritual formation. So.
Yeah. So the church started in the mid-70s.
1979, the church building across the way was the parsonage, and it was the actual sanctuary was downstairs. And they met there until 1989. This building was built in 1989. Okay. And
is this an alabaster building? I know there's a bunch that got alabaster funds. You know if this is
I don't think so. I think I think they actually raised the funds for this church.
Yeah.
At least I know when I got here, it was already paid off. The church was, so that was nice about it. But I think they even had a worker witness team that came here and worked on the church building itself. I think they had different groups that came in.
Yeah.
The design, of course, as you notice, is really with all the wood and stuff like that. It's really
that's a beautiful job.
Yeah. So I'm not really sure who they had hired to do this, but but yeah, 1989 they did that, and so this church, 79, so we're hitting close to the 50-year mark.
Yeah,
a couple of years.
And you've had a lot of pastors that just stayed for a few years, and you are by far the longest pastor that's ever.
Yeah,
So who's the second longest?
I'd probably say Larry Cornett.
Okay,
because he did 3 year increments of time here. So and he was he came then I think another pastor came and he came back again, and then that's when we were interviewed and we came to the church. And when Mike Couch had hired us, he asked us specifically if we would do it at least 3 years.
Yeah.
And
you couldn't have imagined it was going to be 19, did you?
No, I mean, I thought, 3 years, I can do 3 years. It's not big. I did 3 years in the military. I mean, how tough could it be, And actually, to be honest with you, I mean, this church is really, it's really been kind of it's been an easy church. I'm not going to say a difficult church by any means. The only thing that's been difficult is the transition, seeing people come and go.
Yeah. So life is full of seasons. Life is full of changes. So you've kind of made the decision that after 19 years, it's time to retire.
Yeah.
Tell us, how did you come to that conclusion? How did you know in your spirit, it's time to step away?
Well, we've been in ministry for a long time, and I just felt, the Lord, He had really opened a lot of opportunities. I mean, we knew that being here in Kodiak, one thing I've always wanted to do is I've always wanted to do ministry where I wasn't where pay wasn't determining me staying in a position,
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that that's always the case of pastor, but you have to make a living too as a pastor. And so, and I know that the Lord has opened up an opportunity for us to be able to look at maybe a different form of ministry. Not saying that who knows? I mean, the Lord could bring me right back to the pulpit. I don't know, but I do know that at this stage, we want to be in a supportive role and more in an encouraging role. Because when I was in an associate position and when I was pursuing ministry, I always loved that. That was as a senior pastor, this leadership role that you have, sometimes it doesn't necessarily, I think it's more so the way people view a pastor that will determine whether or not, as where if you're a lay person with them and they're going, oh wow, I never thought about it that way, or rather than thinking, wow, a pastor just told me that, how should I be thinking about that? Or is he making a judgment call? I mean, it's just those types of things.
Sure.
And I think as I want a ministry that's just more open to be able to do that, where people feel where I can be more in a supportive role. So as where I think as a senior pastor, I've loved it. I love pastoring. My role, I think, as a senior pastor, and the Lord made it very clear to me, especially when we moved to Kodiak, was, Tim, your role is to stay true to the word that I give you.
Well, that's good.
And I'll change hearts.
Yeah.
You're not in charge of that.
Yeah.
And I think it's just going to look different for us. I think Becky and I, we've done so much work together in our lives, both in what I'm doing now at work and also in ministry. And I'd like to do ministry with my wife as well.
Yeah.
Where we can help others, whatever that might look like.
So your plans to leave end of summer, you're not planning on staying in Kodiak, but you're really open to somewhere. You haven't really nailed down to say, we're going to for sure this place. I think you're just kind of in a season waiting on the Lord, right?
Yeah, we're wherever He takes us, It's funny because we've had a lot of people ask us, well, where like family members, where are you going to go to?
Yeah.
Where are you going to move to? Where are you going to move next to us? All these questions, and we're like, well, we're not sure where we're going to go. The Lord's been faithful to us all these years, and one thing I could say is we'll know.
Yeah.
We'll know when the Lord's got the right place for us. He's always been faithful in that way. And I know that wherever we wind up in ministry, it'll be successful because the Lord will be behind it.
Yeah.
And
so what do you think you'll miss the most about life in Kodiak or about this church? What have you thought through of that's going to be hard. I'm going to miss that part of it.
I'm going to miss our congregation.
Yeah.
They've become a family. You always think that blood's thicker, but the Spirit of God is even thicker in the life of believers. And I always say that in our congregation. I said, all those that are sitting in it, and I say, to think that a decade ago I didn't even know who you were, but now today we're brothers, sisters, and we're a family. And how he brings people together.
Yeah,
that's what I'm gonna miss. I miss that. Mm-hmm. Now, mind you, you get that everywhere you go, anywhere you go. But I'll definitely miss that. I'm gonna miss preaching. Yeah. The word. And I'm gonna miss our worship teams. Yeah. I really am. It's been one of my favorite worship teams I've had in ministry. And it's going to be different to be in a different role. Yeah, sitting in the bleachers rather than in the pew instead of up in front. So
well, I know your heart is to see the church just continue to do well. Yeah, you don't want to walk away and hope it falls apart. You really hope that it does well, and I know you're already preparing your own heart for your transition, but you're also, I think, preparing or praying that God would lead the right leader here. Yeah. It's likely that next leader might be watching this video.
Yeah.
What would you say a person would need to think about to consider coming to Kodiak? Because I just feel like it's one thing to come to Alaska. That's a huge step. Mm-hmm. But to come to remote islands is a whole nother step. What are some things that you would just encourage someone that's maybe thinking through saying, I think the Lord might be calling me to go to Kodiak? What would you say? These are some things you need to consider.
For Kodiak?
Yeah.
I would probably say, remember your calling. Because ministry never is 100% fun.
Yeah.
And we're not called to ministry because it's our ideal or where we think it's the best place or whatever. And so, I think about Kodiak. Kodiak's had its dry points, it's had its highs, it's had its lows, it's had its difficult times. We had difficult times. We've had, there's all sorts of different factors, but staying the course. Yeah. Staying true. Because those aren't what dictate you. The call is what dictates you, and it's presenting the word to those within those that you serve in this church or within the community, both. Yeah. And that needs to really be your motivation. Yeah. Because for my wife and I, wherever we go, make the best of it, because there's good and bad things about everywhere you go. Yeah, right. And the faithful ride is the grass may seem greener on the other side, but it's not always, and you think that it is. Yeah. But really, it's where the Lord has you at this moment. That's right. Is what's important. And so, I would probably say that's probably, of anything, here in Kodiak, because there's things in Kodiak that you'll have to prepare for, and it is what we call island fever. Yeah. It costs money to get off the island, and so if your family is down in the lower 48, you're actually making a sacrifice of extended families. We've missed. Unfortunately, my wife and I have missed a lot in our extended families of people that we've loved in the past, and people that we wish we could have had time to spend time with. Yeah. So those are things that you also have to know, that when you come to a place like Kodiak, Alaska, you're not going to be able to just hop on a plane all the time and go, okay, because it's not going to happen. And so, and you got to be okay with that, coming to Kodiak. Like I think about with my girls, my girls have been raised here, and I love that my kids have had the opportunity to experience the life of Kodiak, because they'll never experience what they've experienced here anywhere else. Yeah. There's some incredible things about Kodiak too. Sure. but at the same time, my daughters didn't get to see family like.
Yeah.
They know us, my wife and I.
Yep.
But my extended family did, and that's the call of ministry, and that's something you have to consider.
Sure.
When you come to Kodiak, Alaska.
Yeah.
You know, and that God's calling isn't always going to be your ideal of what you think it should look like. And so, because I can tell you you asked me how my wife responded when we went to Kodiak. It really wasn't, because we prayed specifically for things, and Kodiak was the answer to those things that we had asked the Lord about.
Yeah.
Like I said, one was our daughters and all that stuff. But I can tell you, all of my extended family was going, "What are you thinking?"
Sure.
My grandparents were like, "What are you thinking, Kodiak, Alaska?"
Yeah.
I mean, I had people tell me, "No, the Lord's not calling you there," you know.
Right.
And so you got to be prepared for that. That's part of coming to a remote area in Alaska. It's like going into the missions field.
Yeah.
You know, but on American soil.
Yeah.
So.
But I've been interested that you have said you feel like the people that are here now, this is some of the healthiest it's been.
Yes.
And like this is a really good core group of people that, I mean, it's not like there's trauma and dysfunction in the congregation and there's disunity. I mean, there's just a good spirit that's happening right now.
A good spirit, and they hunger for the Lord.
Yeah.
You know, that's, to me, is the desire to want to know the Lord, and they want Him to be part of their lives.
Yeah.
You know, that's really what I've really enjoyed about, especially the last couple of years, and that's what makes this hard, you know, of retiring, because you're going to miss that. Yeah. You know, because every time you go somewhere new, it's readjusting. It's all of that. Even if you're not in that leader's role anymore, it's all we're going to have to learn all this stuff all over again. You know, and so but yeah.
And there's a rugged beauty.
Yes.
About this place.
Yes.
I mean, it's unlike anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
With the mountains and the water and
It's the second largest island in the United States.
Oh, really?
So next to the Hawaiian Island.
Wow.
And so, very mild weather here.
Yeah.
For winter, they say Kodiak is one of the colder places in the summer, and one of the warmer places in the winter.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, if you're coming here to want to have nice winters, Kodiak is not the place. So just keep that in mind. If you want snow, if you like to ice skate, different.
Right. Well, my only regret in all this is that I've only been here for 6 months, and now you're leaving, and we're establishing this friendship, and I wish we would have had more time to serve together, but
Yes, that's tell my wife.
Unbelievable how long you've served on this district. I mean, you've seen a lot of pastors come and go. You've seen a lot of DSs come and go, and you've just been faithful to the course. It's just amazing.
It's been I've enjoyed it. I mean, I'm gonna miss Kodiak.
Yeah.
Because it's just, like you said, it's a very unique place. It's the one place, you know, when I walk down in the lower 48 and I go to a beach and you're surrounded by just tons of people, you know, here I can go to the beach by myself and not see a single individual. Yeah. You know, it's remoteness, it's quietness, it's tranquility, it's majestic. Yeah. On a clear, beautiful day, on a clear, beautiful day, I have never seen any place as beautiful as Kodiak. Wow. You know, and I've lived, Becky and I have been blessed to live in some really beautiful places. Yeah. But Kodiak, there's just a beauty about it. In the winter months, the mountains are white and beautiful, and in the summer months, it's almost, even though it's not tropical, it's got that look.
Yeah.
The mountains are green and lush.
Yeah.
And it's just beautiful.
Yeah. Well, if you're watching this video, I'm going to ask you to do two things. Pray for the Luthers. As they transition, it's difficult. It's not easy. You're trying to sell a home. You're trying to figure out where God's going to call you next and entering into a whole new lifestyle. So pray for Tim and Becky. And then I'd ask you, pray for the church. It's going to be hard on them to hear this news and to try to wrap their heads around, okay, there's going to be a new voice. There's going to be some change. Things are going to look different. But we really do want God's best next leader to come.
Yes.
And God's already preparing the hearts as He's preparing yours to step down. He's already preparing someone to step in, and He's faithful. He loves His church. Well, this will be an exciting season for you, with Becky, and this will be exciting for the church as well. And God's going to be with everyone.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah,
He will.
Well, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you real soon.